Hello, my name is Aaron Sills, and this is the beginning of Netflix Reviews. Hey everyone, this is a new series I'm doing called Netflix Reviews. I just watch random movies and other crap on Netflix, and I review it. It's a pretty basic concept, you know? So, today, we're talking about Eurovision Song Contest, the Story of Fire Saga. This is a Will Ferrell comedy movie. It's directed by David Dobkin. The screenplay was by Will Ferrell and by Andrew Steele. It stars Rachel McAdams, Will Ferrell, Demi Lovato, Dan Stevens, and Pierce Brosnan. So, this movie, like, that's really all I have to say about it. I do have more to say, but it just doesn't do much for me, personally. I've seen people who love it and people who hate it, and I'm just kind of in the middle. Like, it's not a complete waste of time, but at the same time, there's better things you could be watching. Let's break it down. The story. Will Ferrell is this dude in Iceland, and his dream is winning the Eurovision Song Contest, which is a big song contest for all of the European countries. I, as an American, didn't know this existed until I watched this movie, which is actually, I think learning about this song contest thing was actually slightly more interesting than the movie itself. No, I'm joking. It's not that bad. But yeah, so you got Will Ferrell, and then you got Rachel McAdams, who's this girl, and she's like totally in love with Will Ferrell's character, but his lifelong dream is to win the Eurovision Song Contest, but his father disapproves. He's all like, no, you get the regular job, you know? It's kind of that plot of every 90s comedy. Honestly, this movie feels really 90s. Like, it has all those kinds of like tropes, be they good or bad, and I'll get into that more later. But so that's the plot. You have this band, Fire Saga, consisting of Will and Rachel's characters, and they gotta win the contest. And you know, obviously, it starts out they're not a good band, but you know, they get better as they go along, and they somehow accidentally like make it into the contest. Which, that's another thing I want to talk about. For the most part, this movie is very wholesome. Like, it's usually really sweet, and the humor is never too mean-spirited. But like, the way they get into the contest is because all of the other contestants, spoilers if you actually care about spoilers for Eurovision Song Contest, the Story of Fire Saga. But the way they get into the contest is there's a boat party for all the contestants from Iceland, like all the entrants, and they don't get on the boat, and the boat explodes. It catches, like, it just literally goes up in flames, and everyone dies in the boat, but Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams didn't get on the boat, and so they make it in. And they watch the explosion happen, like body parts are flying up, and they're all just like, we got in the song contest! And it's like, it's kind of funny at first, you know, it's that kind of shock humor. It's like, oh, you're not supposed to react like that. But like, it's just really dark, and I don't know, it's like whenever this movie has a dark moment, like, it doesn't fit in with the rest of the movie. But, so yeah, the story of this movie, very simple, very basic, like I said before, very 90s. It's like every kind of competition movie or sports movie, you know, you've seen them all before. The characters, I wouldn't say they're super memorable. Like, I mean, Will Ferrell, you know, he's kind of I wouldn't say he's the same in every role, but like, it's Will Ferrell. Like he's you know what I mean. He's not selling me on some character he's playing. He's Will Ferrell doing an accent. Now some of the other people I can't speak for because I haven't seen a lot of these other actors in movies. I don't think I've ever seen Rachel McAdams in anything. I don't think I've ever seen Dan Stevens in anything. And I think they do fine jobs. You know, they do what they're asked to, and they do it pretty well, I think, especially the two I just mentioned. Demi Lovato's in the movie, and she's in it for like 5 seconds. It's kind of a waste, and the joke that she's like a part of isn't even really that funny. I think she's really there just to sing and be Demi Lovato, and I mean, she does it, and it works, but whatever. It's harmless, you know? So the humor is really where I thought this movie was lacking. Like, I do like things about this movie, but the humor is really, I think, where it lacks. Now, to be fair, I was watching it by myself, and comedy movies can definitely be funnier or even less funny depending on the audience you're watching with. But even if I watch something by myself, even if I don't laugh, I can usually like know if something's funny, like if I think that's funny, you know, without necessarily laughing out loud. But there were a lot of jokes in this movie where I was just like, I was cringing, and I love cringe humor, but like it was not the good kind. I think it could have been funnier. I really wish it was funnier. There are funny moments for sure, but like they run a lot of jokes into the ground, which I think is a very easy thing for comedies to do. For instance, so at one point, Will Ferrell's character meets this group of like American teenagers who are like visiting whatever European country they're in. I don't remember where they are, but he gets like mad at him, you know, and he's like, "Oh, you Americans," and he starts like listing off a bunch of like American tropes. And you know, the first time he does it, it's like, it's kind of funny because yeah, it's true. Americans, we do that. But then it just goes on and on and on, and it's like, oh, it's not funny again. And then it comes up later in the movie, and it's like, oh, you ruined it. You could have been funny. And that happens a lot, I think, in the movie. Like, way too much. So yeah, in short, it definitely could have been funnier. But there are some redeeming qualities to this movie. Let's talk about some of those. The visuals, I think, for a comedy of this like caliber are actually, you know, not bad. I think it's definitely pretty well done. Some of the stage shots whenever they're doing a song look great. Some of the like the rolling hills of like Iceland look pretty beautiful, actually. Like, I didn't think it was done that bad. And the music might be my favorite part of this movie, because I expected this music to be trash, because, you know, that's usually what happens in these kind of comedy movies. The music is like, it's like they don't pay attention, or not attention, it's like they usually don't put the effort of actually making like good and catchy songs that like you'd want to listen to on your own into a movie like this. Like, usually it's just like, I don't know, whatever. But I thought the songs in this movie were really good. Like, just watching this movie one time, like, I can remember the songs pretty clearly in my head, and like I would totally listen to them again. Like, they're pretty decent pop songs, actually. And I think there are some other qualities to this movie as well that kind of redeem it. Like, I think it's charming, and it's very wholesome for the most part. There's those occasional dark jokes that like would be fine in another movie, but they don't really work. They don't really work well here, you know? Like, there's a thing where like it's like a whole murder plot where like there's this guy who doesn't want Iceland to win. And so, like, and you kind of forget about him because he's, like, only in, like, 6 minutes of the movie so far. And then near the end, he just tries to, like, murder Will Ferrell's character. And then he gets murdered. The murderer gets murdered by elves. I don't even want to get into it, but there's some weird stuff. But I think for the most part, it's very wholesome. Like, there's this Russian guy who's like made out to be kind of like a bad guy, and you're almost kind of wondering like, oh, is he gonna do like a really scummy thing to this girl? He's being kind of, you know, he's being kind of gross. But then actually he does nothing, and he's very polite, and he was like a good guy the whole time, and it's kind of surprising. And at first I was like, oh, well, isn't that kind of a waste of a character? Like, you built him up to be this bad guy, but then he didn't. But then, you know, after watching the movie and letting it settle a little bit, I was like, you know, I kind of like that, actually. It's kind of refreshing, and I did like the character, so, you know, I'm fine with that. And but yeah, it's a pretty friendly movie. I mean, it's not a kid's movie or anything. There's a bunch of curse words and, you know, references to sex and stuff, but it's pretty, like, this is a movie you could watch with your parents. Well, depending on your parents, you know. So my final verdict, so I don't think I'm gonna do number ratings with this series because, and I'm guilty of this, but whenever a reviewer does number ratings for something, like, I don't know about anyone else, but I almost, like, just skip to the number rating, just so then, you know, that's their whole opinion, just that number rating. And I really want people to actually, like, hear what I have to say versus just looking for a number rating. So I'm just going to say, do I recommend this movie? I think maybe under certain circumstances. If you're really bored and you don't have much else to do, it's not terrible. I just think it's riddled with a lot of problems. It's got a lot of character and humor-based problems that make it, I think, less enjoyable than it should have been. And it is a shame, because I wanted to get behind this movie because it had a cool, you know, a pretty funny setup and concept, but I personally don't think it delivered all the way. So I would kind of recommend it. It's like a recommend. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching this very first episode of Netflix reviews. I think it went well, and I'm ready to do more in the future for you guys. So yeah, goodbye.